Many people have problems with art and not with reality.
So why is art different?
It's pretty simple, right?
This is knowledge, this is thinking, this is thought.
Yeah, it does something strange with your head.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
Bring it.
Yeah, hello. My name is Ando. This is episode 65 of the Undergang Armchair. Welcome. It's been a long road. A lot of things have changed. It's been a little slow lately. We've had a hard time keeping up. A lot of other stuff has been going on. I'm trying to work on some projects. I'm starting a new business. There's a lot of stuff going on, but don't think that we're neglecting the show. We got some great news today, which just, makes us want to redouble our efforts and make this show even better. So that is the goddamn plan. Double up. We're still working to find out some sort of way to bring this show to you weekly without killing ourselves. So if you guys have any quick ideas, quick get-rich scheme ideas, that's what we're looking for. But in all seriousness, this show, we're just got to double it up. Every time we've got to work twice as hard, and we're about ready to start doing that again, just to start putting in the work. On the show today, we got Daniel Richter and his amazing words. This is a great start to bringing the show to the next level. I'll get to that in just a second. I would like to make an open call. We'd like to talk to some directors of institutions, and we'd like to talk to some curators. So if you guys have any suggestions, any ideas, any people you know who are working in the field right now as curators or directors, give us a shout. We'd love to sit down and talk to them. All right, enough of that. We have, like I said, the amazing Daniel Richter on the show today. Daniel Richter's a painter. He's respected, but more importantly to me, after talking to him, it was just refreshing. He's an open-hearted dude. He's got an amazing mouthpiece. I love the way he talks about art, about life, and about how, I couldn't even get him to talk about there being any difference between those two things. So no one can say it better than him. Please enjoy the incredible Daniel Richter.
Lover. And I buy music regularly. So I go every week. Like since I'm 16, I go every Friday, Saturday, I go buy records, books, and comic books. And then 2 years ago, I started doing something, actually I would say really stupid. I buy records by listening to them, what I like, what not, and then, And I found out that 90% of the records I bought from women, if it's whatever, Holly Herndon or Melanie DiBiase or like, words fail me now, names fail me. That 90% of the records from women I bought, let's say I bought 500 records. From the 500 records, 80 records are from women, which is much more than it used to be in the 70s or 80s. So of these 80 records, 70 are actually really good. While of the 420 records done by guys, actually also 80 are just good. So that means that guys stop making music. It doesn't mean like, hey, women uplift also participate and make boring music like the goddamn dicks. No, dicks stop making music. Right. It is not interesting what you're doing and saying. And you have to say that because the level for women is still much more stress. There's more stress for them to do things. They don't have that support. There's not the dick shaking that guys have among each others. They seem to be more self-critical. So if they do something, they do it right. While guys seem to make records like other people go to the toilet, and all of it is crap. There's so much schrott going on. It's a waste of vinyl and time and and it's a disappointment.
Polluting the collective unconscious?
Yeah, polluting the collective unconscious and the world.
So what about art? Does that apply to art?
Would be this. I think we're not there yet. I think we're aiming there in terms of as far as I can say, in terms of painting. I mean, there's much more. I mean, I know the complaints about the role of women, especially maybe not in Denmark, but especially in Germany and Austria, is way behind in terms of than England and America.
Here too.
here too?
Yeah, I don't know I can't compare exact numbers and such, but there is a debate about
it. I think the generation now, it's slowly shifting. Well, it is definitely shifting.
Yeah.
Also, because there's networks that build out where women support each other, and it's not about the women thing. It's more about like let's say about supporting the case, which I think mostly is a good case, of course, because you could also just very simply say it's just unfair. Why is there an idiot guy who is like a trottel and he gets the support in the gallery because he's like loud-mouthing and people get impressed because they reproduce the cliche of a painter? While there's a woman artist that is actually good but self-critical, doesn't get the feedback and doesn't get the opportunities because she's also like holding herself back. It's just not fair. You could also very classically just say it's not fair. Somebody has something to offer, just support it and then test it in whatever, the world, the market, the dialogue, in public. But when people don't even have the opportunity to get into public, it's very hard to find out what they are about.
Well, the problem also is that it's turned out the way that the art world seems to be working is that self-promotion is king. The idea of the genius artist who paints and the gallerist comes,
bizarre, which is really bizarre because I thought that was over. The belief in like a guy is whatever a wonderful. That's all bullshit. Nothing. I mean, I'm a painter and I have a quite definite, like I say, I have a work, and can identify that work. But it's for sure, it's also influenced by that guy and by that woman and by that reasoning and by that background. Nobody of us works in an ivory tower, and that there's this strong belief in construction nowadays of the genius and the wonderful singular artist. That has to do with the market. That's the comeback of the puppet, the genius puppet for collectors that have no knowledge and want to play.
Right.
Because these people have very often no understanding of the art, and they are young and wealthy, and they think that the proof or the evidence that somebody is a genius is that they buy it for 10,000 and sell it the next day for 100,000. That's the evidence that guy is a genius. But since they all believe in that, they all have something like that blue chip, all that stock market thing going on, and now I don't know. There must be 1,000 painters right now that are geniuses. But it's not like that's over. And it's also interesting wise that only works with guys. Because I don't know, it's like it's like they want to jump the fence, or I don't know, they like proud to jump the fence of like bloating around and fulfilling also this cliche of being a mix of a skateboarder, rock and roller, rapper, baggy jeans, crack smoking, super cool tattooed dude. And you look at that and say, what a boring and annoying cliche is that? But the people, and that's not true, but the people with money and a new ruling class among them, or a new upper class among them, seems to be impressed by that, because that's also what they can sell to their friends. It's way harder to understand other kind of art,
Well, I wonder if most of the people who buy art on this blue chip level are male. Because it could just go back to that dick shaking.
I would think most of them are male.
Yeah, because that
and
goes
also
back to
I know from the very few stuff I've seen in New York and in LA and talking to people, that also the wheeler dealers, the shakers, the bakers, the guys who are like wow in power and they know it all. For sure, they're all guys, and the artists are also 90% guys, because I don't know, I wouldn't say men are dumb, but a lot of men like to be impressed by another man. Like, I'm a super cool dude, and you
to know
are
that
also
person.
a super cool dude. Your tattoo is hot, guy.
Look at us.
Look at my tattoo. We drive a Lamborghini, and actually, people could think we are homosexual, but we are not, because we treat women like bitches.
Yeah.
And that's the evidence of the fact that. But actually, it's not about the girls. We don't like satisfying the girls. They are there to impress each other, us. With our paintings, our cars, and our girls. Somewhere there, I think that is. It's a nasty and ugly world, and somebody should take care of it.
So we figured out the problem, huh?
Yeah, we figured out it's a simple solution. It's like when rap can have Kendrick Lamar, also like painting needs a Kendrick Lamar who kind of cleans that out. Who, change the role model, please. Let's not have the comeback of 50 Cent as a painting role model. It's just too fucking boring. And guys, you're not black. No tattoo, no skateboard, no jeans. May they be tight, may they be baggy. You're not black, you'll never be black. Forget that shit.
Well, I mean, art follows trends just like everything else. And the weird thing...
art created trends. The things also change.
Yeah. But how did your relationship to the anti-fascist left-wing social movements lead you to going to art school and being an artist?
Okay, I was old, and I've always been doing. When I was young, I did a lot. I did what everybody did. I did T-shirt designs and record label designs and posters. Like classically in the cities, it was like every city has like 2 or 3 underground places. Hamburg was very strong in the crossover movement. There was the squatter scene, the punk rock scene, a lot of musicians. There was this whole wave of like, what was these bands like No Means No and Fugazi, like all that stuff. And in the good old days, every promoter had their own poster. So not every venue had their own posters. And then that changed in late 80s, I think, beginning of the 90s, when even for punk bands or underground bands, posters were handed over by the promoter. Before it was the venue that made the poster. So like even I remember being in Copenhagen ages ago, like venues had their own posters.
Right, style
so there was kind of the style thing, and you had a friend doing that. So I did a lot of posters for bands from Hamburg and for venues in Hamburg. So whatever, from Fugazi to No Means No to, I can't remember, Victims Family, all kind of 80s underground punk
hardcore,
rock, political hardcore stuff. That was a great pleasure, because they put them out in the street and you see your own artwork in the street. It's a little like street art now or skate art or something like that. I really enjoyed that massively. And then different things came together. The wall fell down and Germany was overrun by a wave of patriotism. And personally, I've never been a patriot, and that moment was more like a grinding halt, and also meant that with the end of the Cold War, which was coming, a lot of things were going to change inside Europe. And it sounds bizarre that to use that as a reasoning, but I thought, no, it's the whole autonomous thing, that whole squatting, semi-revolutionary, self-organized thing that's going to fall apart, because we will not be able to withstand that. Which is true, then you had, for a long time, you had a strong wave of nationalism, racism. It was also very violent. It was a very hard time for, let's say, everybody who's not in the mainstream. Like when you were like in the eastern cities, but also in Berlin, parts of the east, parts of Ruhrpott. It was very hard for a long time for people, either being a punk rocker, or black, Turkish. Everything that was a migrant had problems. It was unbearable. And I ended a relationship that I had been in for a long time. I had no money, I had no education, I had no high school degree, and I had no parents with money. There was not so much I could do. I could still sell records for the rest of my life. And I decided to become I didn't decide to become an artist. I decided to study art, because that was the difference. I just wanted to know what it's about. Because I'd always been drawing, and I'd always been into that. But I couldn't really tell the difference between why Martin Kippenberger is art and, let's say, a good comic book is not art, or why a poster that I like is not art, while Picabia is art. I was more interested very simply in that.
Did you learn? Do you know?
Yeah, I think I could explain that now, the differences.
What did
functionless?
Lack of context.
Well, yeah.
But art school is art school, but you learn at least a lot about the idea of being a working artist, right?
Well, you kind of would think, and I also, when I'm teaching, I think it's not so much also about the teacher or the professor. That's good if you are really interested in theory and you have somebody that seems to can deliver knowledge. That's good. But mainly, I think it's about creating an atmosphere where you feel enabled to do something. Where you think, okay, now I'm in here, and all the others don't know what to do. Some paint, some sculpt, some start piercing themselves. The next one starts a band. And there's all this debate: what is wrong, what is right? Is that really something? But you feel like you're in a space where that's taken serious, where the idea of being an artist, whatever that is, that's the gap you have to fill, is accepted. And that was very important. And it's also, in my eyes, a very important function inside society, not in terms of good or bad art, but because that's a guarantee for a kind of a way of free thinking that is not aiming at a career or a market or a product, even though the art world has also changed towards that. But it may also change back, because at some point people will just be fed up with things they have seen 2,000 times, and the only information they have about that, it's expensive or it's great or wonderful, and they don't know why. You look at stuff and that's supposed to be great, and you look at it, why is that great? It's like a Radiohead record. Why do people listen? I mean, I understand that imbeciles and disabled, that they listen to that. But the others, it's a big misunderstanding. It's a big misunderstanding. It's just wrong. There's so much good music in the world, and it's mostly not in the top 10.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't listen to them, so luckily I can't feel offended by that. But I mean, it's like you say, it legitimizes the discourse in some way, or at least this like effort to take art seriously.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is also what leads to being a professional artist in a way. You have to take it seriously, because when you're young, you don't have that. You don't really take art seriously.
No, you are in there, and then you're taking it seriously. And also you find people who take it serious.
Yeah.
You can also, people take themselves serious, but they're isolated. And isolated communication is like communication with yourself, and that doesn't help you. Reading and all that doesn't help you. It's the matter itself. It's the room, the classroom. It's the people talking. It's seeing people fail. It's seeing people making a fool out of themselves. It's enabling you to make a fool out of yourself, because what's the worst thing that can happen? You do something and it's not good, and you understand it's not good, and you do the next thing. It's not mathematics. It's not aiming at a CEO at a job.
Right.
Maybe it's just aiming at learning something about you and the world that teaches you humbleness, and afterwards you want to be a cab driver.
That sounds, There's actually a famous Danish artist who was a cab driver here, so that makes sense. But then I know you worked as, assistants for artists like Albert Olin after.
Yeah, I only worked for Albert.
What's the difference between working for an artist and going to art school? Because that's both a learning, right?
It's not such a big difference, actually. The difference is that in art school you talk to a lot of people that you cannot really measure. You like they're like you. They have your insecurities. They have some better knowledge, some less knowledge. And being with an artist, especially Albert, was because Albert was something whose work I really liked. So I was taken in by Werner Büttner, who was a part of the trio Werner Büttner, Martin Kippenberger, Albert Oehlen, who were or are, in my eyes, the most influential group of people that are like coming from painting in Germany. Werner Büttner is the one that is least known, and Albert Oehlen was a good friend of his. And he asked him, he said, do you know anybody, a student or somebody that could work for me on a level of so we can communicate about it? Because his idea when he hired me was just he said, he has a project, if I would like to do it, and I would be his kind of a brush that works against him. That was the idea. So
that's a good job.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It forced me to think analytically on one level and on the other level as a painter.
Right.
And it was just like a debate, and it was also very fast. A thing I have to admit about Albert is that he never treated me as an assistant. It was more like a young colleague that didn't know, and it was a very good attitude. I thought. I think he always had he was in his weirdness. He was very fair to us. He didn't care. He cared about what people said, not about whatever the title or the wealth or the age. It was just like somebody said something that was right, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe we'll do it like that." So it was good.
That's really good.
And I learned also to reason against it, because for me, he was like a very important figure in painting. I understood what he was doing, and I would try to understand. And so for me, it was also good to have somebody who takes my own reasons serious. You say, no, when I said something that I think, no, when you reason like that, you say that and that is subversive, and that is not. But when subversion turns into demagogy, it's also like something that maybe questions the whole idea of that things per se are subverting or not. Like brown is not per se ugly, and red is not per se happy. Things like that, very simple things, But then it sharpens your argumentation about what you do.
Mm-hmm. And you were painting at the same time while working for him?
Yeah.
Were you showing him your work?
Yeah. He took it serious. That's not so important for me. It was more important to show it. And my idea was, when I was in the 90s, I did a lot of abstract work, and I tried to, I would say revitalize certain ideas of abstract painting, or of but I wanted it to look, I don't know, wild. I was interested in overwhelming things and doing too much. Like this saying, don't do too much. Especially, don't overdo it, don't do too much. And I was asking myself, what is too much? Like how much painting can I squeeze onto one frame? And how much information can I squeeze into that before it collapses? And the only way to find out was to do it. So I used thousands of colors on paintings. It was like mixing Asger Jorn and Pollock and patterns in everyday life and neon signs and see what's going to happen. And so that was very vulgar. It looked very a little like Tal's work on his level. Looks kind of related in the 90s, looked kind of just vulgar. Just like too much, too simple, too colorful, too thick. And that was against... We didn't know that. I think he also didn't know that. There was a whole trend of subversion and subtlety and the benign and...
Well, it's exploration, right?
Yeah.
You're like you say, you're pushing the limits to see whether...
And then, but there was like a whole... Painting in the 90s was only accepted when it was showing its cleverness. And we actually showed our stupidity. And that was a big difference. But I didn't know then. I knew years later why people didn't like my stuff. They thought it was just like an idiot. The guy's just an idiot. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the sublime. He doesn't understand that we have to make jokes about the sublime, that we have to reduce, and that we have to be extremely sensitive and fooling the others, that we have to be dandies. This guy is just a peasant in an idiotic dress, while we are dandies.
Right.
So there were dandies in the art world, and we were peasants in the art world.
And treated thusly.
But gladly we didn't know. We would thought we were well-dressed men. That's the thing, when you move into a club and everybody else sees you don't fit in, but you yourself think you fit in perfectly.
You're like, I got in the door.
Oh wow, man! I look at my style. Look at me.
Yeah.
And then everybody turns away, but you don't see it. You're just happy to be in there. Later you recognize it.
Well, what happened? Because you did make a change, and the little research I did do. Everyone always talks about this change you made to figurative painting. Ooh, he abandoned abstract art.
Yeah, now I did it again, but I have a show coming up in Frankfurt where I did it again, changing it into a different direction. Well, that was in 2000, and it was the same I had 2 years ago. I looked at my stuff and I said, no, I've done that. And the last paintings I really liked. I thought I can't do any better. It's like...
so it wasn't that you were like, this is terrible, I got to try something else.
No, it was the opposite. I looked at it, and I really liked it, and I just got tired with it. Then there was no point in doing it again.
That's very healthy.
And then it was it took me quite some time then. It's 15 years ago, and it took me a year because I wanted to do something that deals with icons and politics and society, but also with painting per se. I don't think that you justify a bad painting with its good cause. It has to be a good painting, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a flower or a painting about racism or a painting about gender issues, or if it's narrative or just symbolic. It doesn't matter. It has to be a good painting. And the question what a good painting is very hard to answer. But that cannot be the justification. To say, it was in terms of when you do something very simple, when you do something that people can relate to and that has a certain mood, it's like shifting from, let's say, abstract painting or non-figurative or non-representative painting is free jazz. You know? And then you shift into narration with vulgar, extremely loud colors. That's like shifting from free jazz to punk rock. Everybody understands that. Even those that don't like it understand the sign.
Right.
You know? And before it's something like a specialist language. But for me it was never a problem. I mean, for me that doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if somebody's painting horses or unicorns or just lines and of abstract patterns. The question that interests me is how far does this stretch a language? How much does this open? You know, what does it promise to me? What have I not known or seen before that I can only gain from this artwork? But it was interesting for me to see that it worked like that. Because for me, the main thing was I looked at the first 4 paintings. I was glad I made them. You know, I felt like I had done something for real, like a new step for me. But I had no idea how people would look at them. I thought half of the people would think that's a failure. You know, like, Forget it. That's stupid. Why are you
But
doing
was it immediately well received?
It was immediately well received. That was the surprise.
Ding.
Yeah, ding. I was like, whoa, what? Ooh, what? Why? But what's the difference?
Right.
The difference is very simple. It's like you have an abstract structure that is people don't relate to. This is like without the narration, the icon, there's less to gain from it. It's like, let's say it's a song with lyrics or no lyrics. You know, let's say Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday is one of the greatest songs on a serious topic with some wonderful music, which is hard. I mean, like, you have a song like that with that approach towards reality and that suffering in it, and then it's still a really beautiful song. Without lyrics, that would still be just a great song.
Yeah.
But with the lyrics, and with the lyrics sung by somebody who suffered and experienced that, it is like absolutely overwhelming. You just like, you can't say no to that.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't matter if you normally into jazz or pop or you listen to that seriously, you understand it. And it's like, I don't know, it's 100 years of suffering compressed into a 3-minute song.
Yeah.
And
but that's why it's also still so well known.
Yes, and actually all versions afterwards, I think there's one by a female guitarist in the 80s, Sylvia Juncosa. She did a really good version, but you cannot copy that song without making a fool out of yourself. It's okay when Aretha Franklin does it, you know, it's because but it is a song that is so, it's a little like certain Nina Simone songs, you know.
Sure. Where you feel
Nina
the
Simone
anger.
cover songs are always bad. It's just like so strongly living by the person singing, composing, and experiencing it that you can only destroy it afterwards. That's fine. Deconstruct it, destroy it, put it on another level, but it's very hard to.
It reminds me of that bad electronic music you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, you can do a lot of.
So you did make this change, and it was immediately well received. And then everyone talks about how you use pictures from history to So, what are these pictures? Like, what are
just
the
steal stuff. You know, you look around, you see the newspaper, and then you see. It's very simple. Like, at least how my brain functions. You see the newspaper, you see horrible stuff every day, and then you relate that to history, like from the Greece antique to the historic painting of the 19th century to the Courbet painting. You like this often different ideas about historical paintings. A strong influence on me was Russian painting from the 19th century. Not in terms of that I really liked it, but I liked the way how they dealt with the misery of the Russian people and how they composed them and how much they used the idea of traditional painting on topics that were like everyday life topics, you know, like suffering, work, drunken popes. And then I did the same. We just like thought, okay, I transformed the monsters of the Odyssey just into policemen nowadays.
But is it the photographs or is it the stories
It's a mix because some is just like very simple a photo. You know, you see a photo and then some paintings just were photos. I just looked at a photo, so that's an interesting photo, and I just kind of copied. I didn't copy it, I used it, you know. And others are like very elaborated, classical, you would say classic, bad 19th century ideas, you know, like where you deal with something, like there was a Hamburg uprising in 1927, and that failed, and something about that. So it's a speculation on history. It was not like just using photo images and then just painting that would be boring. So for some topics I did that because they kind of also touched me, were very important to me. But others were jokes on history, you know, and I think nobody understood. I mean, I wouldn't say nobody understood them, but a lot of people can't even understand them because they are totally, how you say, cryptic.
Right, well, that's
like
a hard
special
thing
knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, but they still work as a painting. You see them and you see there is a certain, aggression. There's figures and you don't know what exactly these figures mean, but you could say that they are in relation to each other, in relation of disappointment and expectations. There's a room that is shattered. And then I later also made jokes, you know, like I did a whole series on paintings of guys that was mostly me in a superhero costume playing air guitar while the world is falling apart, which was like kind of mocking the idea of the superhero and jerking off, because the air guitar is nowadays, how you say,
it's a competitive sport.
Yeah, it's a competitive sport, but honestly, it's like the infantility of a society. Maybe that's good. It's better to be in an infantile society than in a martial society, but it's still infantile because it means there's a guy who is pretending that he can play the guitar. He's saying, "Hey, I'm an idiot, can't do that. I just imitate a guy that looks like a guy who's jerking off." And it's like this hubris that people do that you stand in public and actually you're jerking your giant dick. And then you do it in a group. And I made paintings on topics like that. I thought it was funny.
It's related to art, though, in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of that. But but the thing that I'm wondering, because I'm having also your work does seem cryptic, and it is hard to kind of unpack if one wants to do that, which I guess there's no point to do. But
no.
Big circle. But to me, it seems like in a way maybe, or the question I had was, how does the history relate to the future? Because if you're talking so much about history,
yeah, that's a good question, because I think the history is. I mean, there's all these simple, all these calendars. What it says in the calendar of the first semester of philosophy or history is, for sure nowadays is the result of yesterday, and tomorrow will be the result of today, and tomorrow we don't know, but yesterday we can study, and today we can experience. That's all blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it's like we're all shaped by history, and we can also shape history. And there's been mistakes and flaws. You could say, like 9/11, was it really a brilliant idea to liberate Afghanistan? Yeah, that maybe was a brilliant idea. But was maybe Iraq not a brilliant idea? That was a not so brilliant idea. That's very simple. You could also say, yeah, there was always a faction inside the US government at that time that was opposing that. I mean, we don't know how else it could have happened, but definitely to every problem there are different solutions, and these solutions that, when they are wrong choices, influence the life of millions and millions of people. Mm-hmm. And they do that based on ideas, on words. It is, but that's a political debate, and it somehow works into my work, because in general I'm just skeptic towards great ideas. I am skeptic towards young men that are idealists. I think there's been more terror brought to the world by idealism and young men willing to donate not only their lives, but especially lives of others for the great case, for great cause. And then there's also you see the decline of the Soviet Union. You could say that's long gone, but actually it's very the Cold War was kind of rational, and with the decline of the Soviet Empire, rationalism just went down the drain, and then it transformed into kind of an idealism that brought back another enemy, or let's say the poor at some point only had very bad choices. And they made the bad choices, and then we made the bad choice to punish them for that. And that also seems to be like a chain that is ongoing now. And,
I was going to say that's.
I have no idea. We always hope for the best, but but it's a political debate. It would saying why does Erdogan? It can't be that Erdogan is so stupid to not support the Kurdish people anymore just so he can stay in power, which is playing with the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. In the combination with the Islamic State, the Syria situation, just to keep it, saying the Kurdish people that are yesterday have been Western's heroes as the only ones that were really opposing militantly the Islamic State, together with parts of the Peshmerga, but being a strong force. The next day, everybody would say, no, they are terrorists. We also have to fight them. It's just how easy it is to change the image of a whole community.
But how does this relate back to your painting?
That is all about, my paintings are all about that.
It's just connected to life, basically.
It's connected to life, but it's what I mean. It's I'm generally skeptical about images, ideologies. I try to have a little fun in my work, installing the stuff where I stopped doing figurative painting 2 years ago, and I have a new show coming up with work that is vaguely based on figures, but it's more conceptual. So this show here in Denmark now is the last show with narratives. Mm-hmm. And the shows I did till 2011, I made a group of work that was based on psychedelic drippy paintings of men smoking and men carrying guns, and they looked like a mix of Taliban and Alibaba's journeys and stuff like that, because I thought we brought it to the point, there is a certain beauty in all these images of the man in the mountains in Afghanistan. And nobody denied that till 2001. You know, till 9/11, they were like kitschy versions of every Western hippie's desire for an upright living life, you know, smoking pot, being like a person that never backs up. And they were heroes of the West. And then 9/11 came in, then they were just like bearded Nazis.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's the same what happened to the Marlboro Man, who was, for heterosexuals and for homosexuals all over the world, a role model. You know, like a man conquering the West, riding the horse, being extremely sexual, and the lonely...
A real man.
The lonesome stranger that everybody kind of desires. A life that was like the idea of an idealistic free life. No boundaries, only horses.
Right. Horses and cows.
And overnight he turned into a guy who's just got cancer.
Right.
You know, like you look at a smoking man with a beard like that, you don't think, whoa, that's a hot man, like a man made of hot leather. You look at the guy and say, oh, he should stop smoking, he's going to get cancer.
He probably sells cigarettes to kids, that guy.
Yeah, that's the other. Yeah. You know, but it's, I mean, that's all very simple observations.
Sure.
It's part of what I use for paintings, but mostly it's the paintings. And a painting, to explain a painting is quite difficult, you know. So people need to see them. And if you don't see it, it doesn't really... Also, when you see them reproduced, it doesn't make sense. A 3-meter painting that has 100 layers in a photo looks like maybe like a nice painting, but it's not the thing. It's like listening to music on a boombox that is very small and digital instead of an orchestra with a symphonic orchestra, like a real building with real people and the real bodies of the music. It's still the same song, but it sounds very different.
Well, we have to wrap up soon, but I have 2 quick questions, and one of them I think I know the answer to. It seems like you don't really give a shit how people interpret your work. Would you agree with that?
Every understanding and every misunderstanding are fine.
Yeah, you don't try to corral people in a direction.
No, I don't try to. Sometimes, I mean, I enjoy it when people really find, when it kind of communicates with people on a level that they offer me something as an explanation that surprises me. But I generally would say I know quite well what I'm doing. And but I only know those about me that I understand, as we all do very psycho talk. I can't be self-reflective and I can be very analytically. But there will always be dark holes in me that I don't see. And another person sees the same reasoning, that sees the painting and says, oh, that's about that. You have an issue with legs. But no, how come, no, you know? And then you think about it, it's actually true. There are things in the paintings that are unsolved problems of me or my thinking or the structure, and they actually say something about me.
Right.
Say things that I may even not know.
And it says something about the way you work too.
Yes.
The way you paint.
Yes.
The final question is the worst question of them all.
How do I feel?
No.
Do I like a cappuccino?
What is art for?
Art. What is art for? There's different ways of making it a very clever impression now, but I'll not go there. I think art is art is a promise for a better life, and it's I don't know if you want to call it an experiment field or utopia or transcendence idea. It is das Vorschein eines besseren Lebens. I couldn't translate that. It is something like the glowing of something that could be a better life.
The sunrise on the horizon.
Something
of
like
the day
that.
Coming or something.
Something like that.
That's a good answer. I'll take that. Thank
Tomorrow
you.
or another.
Yeah. But thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Much appreciated.
I talked a lot of bullshit.
That's the way it works.
Yes, all right. That was Daniel Richter talking a lot of bullshit, like he says. But a lot of that made sense to me. Let's have more artists who talk like that. You guys agree? There's something about it that's refreshingly old school. I miss that kind of shit talking. Although God knows I don't do any of it. But, it's just nice. It's nice to hear someone's unfettered opinion. And, take that, Radiohead. So, thank you for listening. This episode of the Undergang Armchair was brought to you by Undergang Unlimited. The intro and outro music is provided by Johnny Ripper, and the interstitial music for this episode was provided by Arcee. You can find their music on our shit-talking and welcoming website, undergang.net. Come holler at us on Twitter. Come holler at us on Facebook. Come and talk some shmack with us and bring a friend, huh? This show was also produced with the kind support of the Danish Arts Council. Thanks, guys, and we will catch you next time.